Hi, I'm Darlene Carman.
And I'm Doug Carman.
Welcome to the first of 2 segments with the bike doctor, Alex LaRiviere. We are meeting today in the Children's Discovery Museum, and Alex is on his way from the historical Lefebvre's bicycle shop. Should be here any moment. Alexander LaRiviere is a bicycle historian, inventor, mechanical expert, and one of the country's most experienced forensic bicycle accident investigators. Today he will show us the world's oldest bicycle and shed some light on the evolution of bicycles.
Yeah, and he's on his way now from the bicycle shop. Here he's come. We're waiting for him patiently for him to arrive.
Oh my goodness. This is exciting.
Yeah, I hope he gets here soon. We've got a big show to put on. Come on,
can you imagine
Alex,
the
pedal
traffic?
that bike faster.
Yeah, but to the traffic and all that. Oh. Talk about an entrance, huh?
Here he comes. Yeah, I think he's coming in. Hey, well, come on, let's give it a
Very impressive. Very nice.
Put your bike away.
Wow.
Put your bike away and we get started.
That's almost as big
I'll
as
hold your
I am.
helmet if you want. Here we go.
Goodness, I'm 5'4". That's up there.
Put your bike away.
Very nice. Wow. I think I would need a ladder to get on that, for sure. That will stop traffic, for sure.
Got it.
I'll help study it.
No.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay. Here we go.
Very nice. Welcome, welcome. That's really quite an entrance there.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Why did you decide to showcase your bicycle collection here at the Children's Discovery Museum?
Well, bicycles have always meant so much to me, and I thought that the bicycles would be able to inspire kids and add culture to their lives, but inspire them to learn about many things. Things like history, mechanics, and such. And there's some pretty cool bikes that are here. So
You've brought a lot of special bikes for us today. Why don't you kind of give us an overview of what you're going to be showing us today so they can get an idea. Just give us a quick run through of what you have.
This one's a Lefebvre from the 1790s. And this one was made at the bicycle shop. We'll be getting into the Drazines, which is this bicycle right here from, this one's a replica of a 1818. This was made at the bicycle shop. The other one that we're going to be doing is getting into the conversion of the Drazine into a pedalable velocipede. So I'll actually be putting the cranks in this one. We're going to be going into treadle power bikes, which are kind of a missing link for bicycles. The Macmillan bike and the Lefebvre bike. One was made in, the Macmillan was in Scotland and the Lefebvre bike was in France. We'll be getting into the bone shaker, which is this one here. This is a 1865 bone shaker. As well, we'll be getting into, this is called a transitional bike or a high wheeler. This is not a penny farthing. The main frame on this one here is actually original. This one's been restored, but it's very representative of the time period. This is approximately 1868. Is a pretty good estimate on the age of this one. This one is actually a penny farthing. The penny farthings came in about 1869. This is a replica of a 1885 Columbia Superior. This one I actually raced this bike, so this one is my my rider. We'll be getting into some of the development bikes. This particular one is made by Remington Firearms Company. This is approximately 1893. This is important because of the involvement of gun companies in the whole history of bicycles. The next bike is a no-namer, but it is an 1890 bike, and it is the last year before the modern day bike. The next one over is a Rambler, and this is 1901, but it's essentially the exact same type of bike as what you'd have for the first year of your modern safety bike. So there's a real distinct difference between these two bikes, and I'll get into that later. But this one actually, this company here eventually started making automobiles. I have another one like this that's in 1893. So this company was producing, the Rambler company was producing bicycles before they started producing cars, which is rather interesting. This is my road bike, and it's a Fuso, and it's a classic one, and we'll get into how it compares with your modern day bike of 1891. And this is my very first bicycle. This is a Roll Fast. This is a pre-war bike. This was the very first bike that I put together as a child, and then after I put the bike together out of old parts, I then learned how to ride it. So I still have it.
Wow. Now, that first bike, you know, our kids had a rocking horse like that. Is that what started the whole bicycle thing?
They don't really know exactly what started the entire bicycle thing for certain. There's a story that goes along with how the Lefebvre came to be. This one actually came from a rocking horse. And so the wheels for this one are actually 100-year-old wheels. They came from a cart, and so I adapted the wheels onto it so that it would be representative of a Lefebvre. The Lefebvres initially they had 4 wheels to start with, and then and they were considered a child's toy. Then there was this guy named Lefebvre in 1791, and he had taken a larger embodiment of a horse and put 2 wheels on it so an adult would be able to ride this type of thing. And it wasn't like riding a bicycle, because this one has no steering, but it gives you some of the ideas of riding a bicycle. One of the things about this that's still similar to bicycles today is that its main purpose was to make you look good, and it was primarily used for courting. The guys would get all dressed up in their suits with their hats and go out and sit on the bike. So they wouldn't actually ride them, they'd just sit on them, and in hopes that it would attract women to them. And it actually worked. And so Lefebvre actually produced a good number of these bikes, and the guys you could wheel them along, although you couldn't steer them, but they would just sit on them. And so I think the main purpose of them was just courting them. Exactly when the first bike was made, for sure, I don't think anybody really knows. And they're still learning more and more, so there's all these missing links. But the most important thing to know is that there were certain events that happened along the way that helped. This
now
particular...
I'm sorry, I was just going to ask about the second one here. It has handlebars, so it actually looks like you could steer it.
Yeah. This one here, the bicycle got steering in 1816. This one is a representative of a 1818 Draisine. So this one was probably what I would consider to be your really first of your bicycles, although it doesn't have a lot of the elements that you would need for it to be a modern day bicycle, but it definitely would give you the sensation of being a bicycle. It's a very crude bicycle. These were in service from about 1816 to probably, for the most part, about 1865, although there were a few times in history where people had put pedals on before the 1865. And so this was definitely a huge development. The Drazines were mass-produced, and so it had a contributing effect to the development of the bike.
Yeah, you brought you're going to talk about a special bike for that's
Yes.
in San Jose, and we'd like you to explain that, because that was quite a revolutionary
Yeah.
experience for bikes during that early period.
This particular bike here is an example of it's a photograph of the Alexander Lefebvre bike, and it's at History San Jose. This particular one, if you can stand up on the pedals, and they're very long arms, and the pedal arms are attached to push rods, and so the back wheel would rotate similar to that of the wheel on a train. It's offset. And so you could, as you move the push arms back and forth, it makes the wheel rotate. These lever arms, actually, the person could stand up and have quite a bit of power. So this one was made in France, and this one is in San Jose. The time period for this is no later than 1843, but could be as early as 1839. The one below it is a Macmillan bike made in Scotland, and they're very, very similar. There's a serpentine frame, which both of them have that. Both of them have a headpiece on the front. It looks like it's a serpent coming out of another head, and this appears to be a little horse mounted on the front end of the bike. So they thought of the bikes, I guess, as being very similar to that of ships. So ships had those headpieces.
I think we have it rolling. We had an opportunity to go to the museum, the History San Jose. We're in the warehouse where we have some footage of the actual bike, and you're kind of explaining some of the difference between the Macmillan bike and the Lefebvre bike. So maybe we could see that.
Let's see it.
Yeah, Darlene's at the museum.
We're here at History San Jose, and we're looking at a photograph of a bicycle that was built in 1845. This bicycle is a replica
That's the one we're looking
of
at?
a bike that was made by Macmillan in Scotland in 1839. The bicycle in front of me here was made in France by Alexander Lefebvre. This bike was built no later than 1843, and possibly as early as 1839. This bike, as far as in comparison to the Macmillan bike, there's strong similarities. Both of them have a serpentine style. There's real strong similarities between the two of them. There's also some great distinctions between the two. One is that on the Macmillan bike, there's overlap between where the pedals are. So if you turn too sharply, you could actually hit the pedals on the Macmillan bike. On the Lefebvre bike, the pedals go up and down instead of going forward and back, whereas you can turn the front wheel and there's no toe overlap. On the Macmillan bike, you don't have as much power. When you're having the treadles go back and forth, you don't have as much power. The Lefebvre bike, the rider could actually put their weight, stand up on the pedals, push it straight down, and you could get power from that. The Lefebvre bike is obviously a complete original bike, and it is not a copy of the Macmillan bike. The Macmillan bike, the frame appears to be derived from the body of a Drazine where it was converted. The Lefebvre bike is completely original.
Wow, that's very, very impressive. So what is the next big change in bicycles?
The next big change were the addition of pedals to the bicycle. And so the way the story has it is that Ernest Michaud, this gentleman here, here's the story. A Drazine was brought into his father's Paris locksmith and fix-it shop for repair. The job was done. Young Ernest took it out to try it. He never had ridden one. In a flash, the idea struck. Pedal cranks on the front wheel, like the crank with which he turned the grinding wheel in his father's shop. So at this time, Ernest Michaud would have been 14 years old. So he was working at his father's shop in 1855. Some similar technology which would have been available. Here's a simple pedal grinder. And this is it's a saw with also a drill. So I'll demonstrate this. Maybe I will.
Let's see how that works on the, how do you make that work on the bike?
Let's see. Hang on.
It's like some of my machines.
All right. So, anyway, when Ernest Michaud was first faced with the situation, there would have been an axle bolt. In this case, if you take out the axle bolt, now you can
So now we
Ah,
have
there it
what
goes.
I think you call as a velocipede? Is that,
well, now it's a pedalable velocipede.
well,
Yes.
it's, you can
So this
pedal
is
it.
a converted Drazine, and so this is what would have been some of the very first of the velocipedes, how they eventually got transformed into the mass-produced ones. The mass-produced ones typically had the larger wheels, especially by 1865.
Well, this is when they went into the manufacturing of bikes. Why don't you show us how that occurred, Alex?
Yeah, this model here is representative of, on the timeline, the Bone Shaker. So the Bone Shaker is your pedalable velocipede, and both Michaud and Pierre Lament were producing and manufacturing the Bone Shakers.
But yeah.
Now this one is a little bit different too because it has much more of a metal frame. It's got larger wheels. By this time they had the desire to be going faster, and so that's the purpose of the larger wheel.
And the next one?
Yeah, let's, what was the next
This is
evolution?
considered a transitional, and the transitional it's still a bone shaker, but it's not really a penny farthing. It has all of the characteristics of a bone shaker in which there's no ball bearings. It has wheels similar to that of a wagon wheel. So if you were to take a wagon wheel, in fact I have one over here, if you were to attach pedals to this, it wouldn't have been that much different to attaching pedals to this. They were using the technology from wagons, and so these bikes basically would have originated from the blacksmith. And this was like your blacksmith era, but they had no bearings, no tensionable spokes, no rubber tire, and this was a cast iron frame. And so they were pretty rough riders. That's how they got the name the the bone shaker.
Pretty heavy too.
Yeah, very heavy.
Yeah. So what happened after that? We noticed that you have a similar bike, but it looks like it's made
Right.
out of
This one,
aluminum or metal.
well, this is steel, and these bikes, like I said, these were from the blacksmith's technology. Now, these bikes, the penny farthings, basically were produced through sewing machine companies. And at that time, there were several improvements that had come to be, and all of them basically started in 1869.
Alex, why was the front wheel so big?
Because they wanted to go faster. The bigger the wheel, faster you go. They hadn't figured out gears yet. But this bike would anyway go significantly faster. The penny farthing would go faster than a bone shaker. First off, it was lighter, but it would also transmit the energy better because it had less resistance in your whole drive, and it had lightweight spoked wheels, but it could transmit the energy better in the wheel because of the spokes. And so you had tensionable spokes, which was a huge improvement. You had ball bearings, which was huge as far as an improvement. You had a much, much softer ride because you have a rubber tire on it. And you have the lightweight steel frame. So they lost a huge amount of weight, and the efficiency was better.
After this bike, it looks like from the bikes you have here that the geometry of the bikes changed dramatically. Maybe you can explain what happened. What caused?
Well, basically what happened is that in the safety bike was simply a bike that had, the first ones were chain driven, and they had two wheels that were approximately the same size, but they were rather crudely made. So the penny farthings actually worked really well. They had refined those down really, really well. But in 1879, even though they had got the idea of the safety bike where you had two wheels that were smaller and you had a chain drive, they hadn't got the machining down yet.
Well, is this how the chain, did that help in that evolution when they developed the chain wheel drive?
Right. As soon as they got the chain going, what happened was that the next technology came in improving the chain, and the gun companies then became involved. So the gun companies, like this particular bike next to me, is a Remington firearms company, and they started taking out patents in 1879 and on bicycle parts. And one of the things that Remington did is that they basically helped make the bicycle run smoother. They had the ability to make small parts that were very strong. They understood metallurgy and also machining, and also being able to put out a large quantity of product. And so at that point, the sewing machine companies, after 1879, the gun companies and the sewing machine companies started working together on developing better running safeties. And the safety bike, as we know it, basically went all the way from 1879 up to your 1890. And you could say that the modern day bikes are safeties, but there was a huge change in the bikes. And what happened is that in 1890, that was the last year of having the forks where they were straight. And so a bike like this, which was pretty much the first year of the produced air-tired safety bike, it's really the air tire was, for a bicycle, was first invented in 1888. It got into production by 1890. This bike would have had air tires and a straight fork. So it had ball bearings, good quality chain, it was lightweight, it had a lot of qualities about it, or the elements, but it was missing one thing. It was missing the rake and the fork, and that's what this bike has.
And that's what all the modern bikes now have, and it looks like they haven't changed, because the bike you have over there is a racing bike, and it's almost similar to in geometry as the other 1890 bike that you have, and it has that rake, and they both have that rake.
It's almost
We're just about out
identical.
of time, Alex. We wanted
Yeah.
to see
We
if
wanted
the
to know if there's any
audience had a
questions
question.
from the audience. Yeah. So
Oh, here we have an audience member that just definitely,
Okay.
you have a question for Alex. Yeah.
that's for you.
Oh, yeah.
Alex, with all the bikes you have here at the museum and the evolution of the bike and all the transitional phases of the bike, what do you think will be the next really phenomenal change in bicycles?
I think having a camera setup put on the bike so you could videotape from the bicycle's perspective, what's ahead of him, and also videotape what's behind him, so that if the bicyclist gets involved in an accident, he would have a record, like in a black box, of what happened. And I think that would be a huge, huge improvement. Not only would it discourage cars from behaving in an unsafe manner, if there was a malfunction with the bike, it would help the accident investigator find out what happened. So, and I think the technology is very close to being there. So that's, I think, the next big thing.
That would be very
Good.
exciting.
Yeah, they could put a sign on the back, smile, you're on video.
That could probably cover a lot of territory there, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe solve some problems, you know, just like having the cameras on top of the lights and catch you. You know, I imagine
That's right.
in your work it probably would help out quite a bit.
And it would make the cyclist behave better as well, because he's on camera.
That's right. That's
If
right.
he blows a light or he does anything wrong, then he has a record of it.
Well, thank you for being here, Alex, with us. And you're
That
going
was-
to be back for the next segment.
Yes.
And we're
Yeah.
going to talk about bike safety and some of the rules and regulations.
Well, thanks.
And how
There's just so
society
much to cover.
was affected
It's
by the
like-
bike. We're really looking
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
to having you back. Thank
Yeah.
you again.
So thank you for watching the show.
Come
Watch again.
See the next segment, please. Thank you.